the Sluggo. Slant and go.
Casey the Beef Creek, and it's Wednesday. You and I are talking like we do every Wednesday, except for next Wednesday, which we're taking off because I'm going to be in JJ's area of the country on vacation. And that's what I wanted to talk to you about first today. I don't care about the weather because vacation is supposed to be like relaxing, right? And I know you got a little fella, and I was there one day too. But the whole process of getting ready, of packing and trying to remember everything, and you're trying to work at the same time, and it's a stressful day today, as you can tell in my voice.
There's no doubt about it, and it's always crazy because especially like up here in the Northeast, especially here in New Jersey, people go quote down the shore. People make fun of us around the country, but that's what you do. And rentals start Saturday to Saturday, so you're getting ready, you're getting stressed out that Friday night to get down there Saturday to move into your home for a week. But that vacation's always cut short. It's always Friday because you got to get out at 11 o'clock in the morning on Saturday. So it's funny that stress always seems to creep into. You need a vacation from your vacation after you get back.
And you know what? Me, smart. We're getting back a week from Thursday, and guess who's not going to work on Friday?
Yeah, that is the way to do it. That's the way to do it.
That is what I do. Hey, I see Nelson checked in. And Nelson, I don't know if you saw the beginning of this show, but hope you're watching now because this show is dedicated to our good friend, Nelson Wilhite. This was on the start of the show, Nelson. Nelson made a contribution to the show, Casey, to defray some of our costs. And the hilarious thing is, as I said, what was the donation for, Nelson? He said, he said you had a donate button, so I hit donate. So that's my best kind of dude there, Nelson. We appreciate that. Well, I hope you saw that, Nelson. It says Sluggo episode 58 presented by Nelson Wilhite. We appreciate Nelson. All he does, he made a contribution, but he really helps us out on the Facebook group too.
Yeah, it's awesome, man. He's been with us literally from the start, before we knew him, and now I feel like we know him and haven't necessarily officially quote met in person, but you and I haven't really either. So I mean, I guess, but I really truly mean this when I say he is part of the team, and we do appreciate everything he does for us and keeps me honest. I'll tell you what, in the chat. So.
Here's the weird thing. We haven't actually met in person either. And, I don't get back to South Carolina anymore like I used to on a regular basis. I got a kid in school and doing stuff in the summer, and it just doesn't happen. So it may be a few years before we actually do meet, even though you're going to be living in South Carolina.
We'll figure it out somehow, some way. We'll make it work. Yeah.
Clemson will come out to the Cotton Bowl or something. And Kevron.
Hey, Kevron.
Yeah. High beef. I heard a rumor that Texas and Oklahoma joined the SEC. I don't believe that.
They did make the call. We'll probably discuss that a little bit too.
Yeah, no doubt. And the 5'0" 100 Michael Palkovich is in. It says the shore is awesome. Greetings from Destin, Florida. Well, I'm going to be in Florida tomorrow, Palk. So
only 8 hours away from each other.
Wouldn't it be crazy if I actually met up with Palk before I met you? That'd be wild, wouldn't it? And Kevin Harris says, let's get the train rolling. And Nelson says, I did see it, Marty. Yeah, Nelson, again, sincere appreciation for all you do for us and for the generous contribution you made. I wasn't going to bother you until the vets started getting hungry about Thanksgiving time, but appreciate you, Nelson. Appreciate you a lot.
Very much so.
And Nelson did tell me during the week on the text machine that he was going to be watching again because the Tour de France was over. He could fit us into his schedule.
I actually was watching it the other night just because of Nelson, because not that I got into it because of him, but it was on. So I said, you know what, I'm going to watch this for a little bit. It's fun. I don't know anything about anything, so I can imagine it could be fun if you actually did know the sport.
Hey, all I know is somebody held up a sign and like 400 guys ran over her. All right. Hey, big recruiting weekend last weekend for Clemson. Tigers had a big haul in the defensive backfield. Keon Sabb, number 60 overall, and Dalen Everett, number 37. Now, I heard some talk on Sabb afterwards that he may be the kind of turn into an Isaiah Simmons kind of linebacker-ish type guy. Tells you how bad of a scout I am. I had no idea. They're saying, well, his body's type is going to grow into, and I'm like, I don't know. He looks like a high school kid to me. So, but anyway, they were saying he could turn into an Isaiah Simmons linebacker type.
Isn't it funny that that's what we're going for now? Isaiah Simmons was a little guy out of Kansas that kind of unheralded out of high school, didn't have many offers, decides to come to Clemson, and he's a transcendent talent for Clemson people, and the way that he played, how hard he played in kind of that hybrid role, and worked himself up to be a first-round draft pick. So it's great to see that that's what we talk about. And I say we, meaning Clemson fans, because outside of this, we make no bones about it. We're Clemson fans, right? But that's what we're looking for. We're looking for that hybrid guy. And anytime you see safety nowadays, the first thing that pops in my head is, ooh, is it like an Isaiah Simmons? How big is he? Is he 6'3", 225? Because he's, because that's what we were used to with Simmons, and Simmons was so good for Clemson. You can only hope if Keon Sabb is half the player Isaiah Simmons is, Clemson's getting a great one.
I think that's what everybody starts to look for now, right? It's kind of like you buy a car and you see 20, you notice 20 of the same cars, but it seems like when I'm watching these guys of that size get recruited, defensive backs, then he's going to grow into a linebacker. It seems like it's the thing to do now in college, like the up-tempo offense was for a while.
Yeah, and Clemson had one before, probably one of the originals outside of maybe Troy Polamalu in Brian Dawkins. Brian Dawkins was a guy that they used to bring down into the box too, especially when he went to Philadelphia in the pros. But excuse me, he was a little undersized in comparison to Isaiah Simmons, whereas Simmons was covering, Simmons could that hybrid is a linebacker / safety, so he could kind of come down in the box too and make you pay, and then he could also cover a slot guy or a tight end as well.
Yeah, Nelson checks in and says 247 just elevated both of those defensive backs today. They should be 5 stars by the end of the cycle. Shows you what kind of day I had. I haven't even had a chance to jump on 247
either.
Yeah, it was a crazy, crazy day in the house. And the wife has got her, she's trying to wrap up her work for a week and meetings and phone calls and, just bizarre, crazy. And we had somebody cleaning the house. We had somebody cutting the grass. It was crazy. Pauk says we live closer when we're in Texas and have to meet. Unlikely to happen in Florida. However, your Yankees fandom is appealing. Yeah, another Yankees game coming up for me. Casey tells me to put on a parka and
a helmet.
Yeah, I was going to say maybe some riot gear.
They keep it at 72 degrees. One of the main sponsors of the Rays is Train, I believe, Train Heating and Cooling. National campaign, so they do keep the place at between 72 and 73 degrees.
And a couple of cold beers for me, and I'll be frozen. That'll be good. I might need a couple of cold beers for that one. All right, that was Sabb, and now Dalen Everett. He's number 37. He's up in the Notre Dame recruit range since Palkovic is tuning in today. Number 37 overall. He, to me, looks like he's 29 years old, if you ask me. But the drama with him was the hat. And you and I and Nelson were texting back and forth or messaging back and forth when he committed and he threw the hat and you made a comment. I was like, I don't know. It's kind of, it's just not me. It's not anything against him. I don't think it's the worst thing somebody could do. It's just not me. It just didn't strike me that way. Lesson learned from me. There's a story behind the hat tossing that I wasn't aware of at the time. Now I completely understand it. I still wouldn't have done it, but I understand why he did. Apparently, when North Carolina got the news that he was going to go to Clemson, they disrespected his family in some way. So he felt like a little payback was warranted.
Yeah, I think you and I are in the same boat in that manner, meaning it, the all show, no go kind of thing doesn't necessarily have to happen. But yeah, and you saw comments on Twitter from Dalen's dad. Someone said, "Oh, I'm so glad he didn't come here," and Dalen's dad answered, "Yeah, so am I." So where there's smoke, there's fire, and JP even added a similar sentiment to that. Nothing came out publicly, and I don't think it should. It doesn't have to. Doesn't need to. But Clemson got another good one, and they won another battle with Mac Brown, and they may actually, this attitude that North Carolina coaches showed to Dalen Everett, who is friendly with Travis Shaw, who's high on Clemson's radar, obviously, and has been trending kind of towards North Carolina, as well as the wide receiver Antonio Green, I believe is his name.
Right.
Same idea. So they could lose. I think somebody said it, may have been JP. They could lose out on Dalen Everett twice or three times theoretically if they lose because of this attitude that they pulled with one of the higher rated recruits.
And Jaden Lucas, right? Wasn't he had some interest in North Carolina? And who knows? Who knows what this means? Maybe he'll more likely go to North Carolina now that these guys are at Clemson, or maybe he's turned off by North Carolina now and wants to come and be in the backfield with all of these dudes from a defensive backfield with all these dudes from IMG. But what struck me about this is it's something Dabo always says. Basically that you worry about the ones you get and not the ones you don't get, right? And this really rubbed the Everett family the wrong way, whatever happened, and much to Clemson's benefit. And boy, I was happy to see it.
And yes, Nelson, this is the famed Mom's Basement.
Yes, actually, Casey is in Mom's Basement. He is 44 years old, and he's in Mom's Basement.
True story.
And Pauk says, "Are we surprised UNC is losing to superior programs? The UNC hype will have a shorter life than a fruit fly." Well, Pauk, I had to put up with Mac here in Austin for like 115 years, it seemed like, and he was like, back then his line was, "I can only take 25. All the mamas are mad at me because I can only take 25 at Texas." He's always got some line, it's building defense now. He's a lot like Dabo, or Dabo's a lot like him. I guess Max is senior. But, there's always a line. There's always a catchphrase. He's just an older Dabo. And
surprising to probably some, they're actually very close friends.
Yeah, there's a lot of the same in them. They never met. They like to talk. They never met a microphone they didn't like. And, if you say the wrong thing to them, they snap at you. Just don't ask Dabo about Clemsoning. And don't ask Mac about why his players can't walk across the street to practice. They got to get on a bus to go like 40 yards. They were, he spoiled those guys to the nth degree, which I don't see happening with Dabo, but they were really, really spoiled when Mac was here at the end. Big 2023 quarterback Malachi Nelson signed with Oklahoma, 5-star. I think he's the second-rated quarterback behind Arch Manning. He's theoretically already spoken for. Going to Oklahoma, I think eventually somehow Oklahoma is going, even in spite of themselves, are going to win a national championship with the quarterback, and they're building quite the quarterback lineage there in Norman.
Yeah, between Spencer Rattler, then you have Caleb Williams, who was a 5-star, top-rated passer in the last cycle or 2 cycles ago, and now you're getting Malachi Nelson, who's going to be another guy that's going to be in the top, if not the top quarterback. I think Arch has that one sewn up, but Malachi Nelson was as hot as they come in the next cycle, the 2023 cycle. So that's a huge get. I think you what you said, you nailed it on the head. Especially if they're gonna, although if they go into the SEC, they may not win the national championship, right? They have to run into Alabama. So, it's a good get for Oklahoma. Like you said, it could stick. Maybe it does stick. But
here's the deal: if they go to the SEC, by the time they make that transition, the SEC will have like 9 teams in the playoffs. So, I mean, that's literally my prediction. Is eventually you're going to have a playoff. Maybe it's 12 teams, but you're going to have a playoff with like 6 SEC teams in there.
That's
out of
where
12 teams.
That's where they're going to lose me.
Yeah.
Not lose me as a college football fan, but lose me for some credibility.
Pouch says he can understand it with the backing of Texas. UNC just isn't in that class, not to mention there are clearly superior programs up the East Coast. Who's superior up the East Coast? I'm not sure on that one. Let me know, Pouch. And Pouch says Dante Moore, 5-star quarterback, 23, is taking a second visit to South Bend. Moore is a top 20 overall recruit. Yeah, what I heard on this, Pouch, was he's taking his second visit because he's going to get some of the Notre Dame players to transfer to a real program.
And this, ladies and gentlemen, was your Notre Dame Minute, brought to you by the Spurtle.
The Spurtle Girdle. And there will be no more Notre Dame on this show. Just joking, Pouch. Nelson, Oklahoma signed a top quarterback. Shocking. Agree that they will eventually get a playoff win and CFP title. They're getting much better on defense. I don't know. I want to see the defense. That's one of the things I have to see to believe.
Marty's a wait and see guy.
Except for with Spencer Rattler, I was on him for he threw pass because I saw whatever it was, QB1 where he was a total jackass, and I liked it. All right, other recruiting news. Keenan Nelson Jr., 4-star cornerback, number 138 overall to the Gamecocks. Sounds great. Number 138. That's a lot better than they have been signing those 4 stars in the 400 range like Notre Dame has been. But you and Nelson and I were texting about this, and it was a really strange recruitment. Clemson, I don't think Clemson was on this guy's list, and a lot of the bigger teams weren't, even though he's a top 150 guy. And he ends up at South Carolina. Seriously, no offense to South Carolina, but you wonder if there were some red flags somewhere for some reason, whether it was on the field or off the field, I don't know, but it just makes you wonder why this number 138 guy's out there and snapped up a South Carolina offer.
Yeah, and I know he's from Pennsylvania, and I know it was a big get. It was almost a coup that he was almost signed, sealed, and almost delivered to Penn State. And here comes South Carolina to come in and swoop him. But you're right, odd bunch of suitors, no question about it. No Clemson, no Alabamas. I think there was an SEC or 2 in there, but it was like Kentucky and Missouri. Penn State was obviously in there, big time, Big Ten school, and South Carolina gets them. So yeah, we never know the full story, but the number is the number, and the numbers don't lie. He's 138th ranked recruit in the country. It's a big get for Shane Beamer. One thing that I think hasn't really slowed down for South Carolina is it seems like they're in on just about everybody that's out there. One little thing that Will Muschamp always had, and I had a friend who was a high school coach in Florida. When Muschamp was there at Florida, said if you have a heartbeat, you're going to get a Florida offer. So I feel like that it hasn't really slowed down, and maybe we're spoiled by what Dabo does, and they're kind of more selective and perennially have less and less offers out there. And South Carolina tends to be on the other end of the spectrum with multiple hundreds offers. But it's just funny, and that rings every time I see a guy that has a South Carolina offer. It's like, of course he does.
Well, here's the other thing that Mac used to do. I was thinking as you said that, Mac used to not officially offer a guy until he knew he was coming to Texas, and he goes, "I'm 25 for 25," and it was such a joke. I mean, we know Clemson doesn't do that because they've lost a couple of guys right recently, but that was another Mac gimmick. Wow. Yeah. I can only offer 25, and I offer 25, and they all accept it.
He's not wrong. He's not wrong.
The mamas are mad at me. Pauk says Clemson. Okay, Clemson, Virginia Tech, Georgia, Florida, all qualify as East Coast to me. I misinterpreted.
I did too.
You said up the East Coast, and we took that to mean like Rutgers.
We're simple. Pauk knows us. We're simple. Yeah, I'm thinking like, what's north of there? Delaware? No, Delaware's not.
Oh, that's funny. And Jeremy Grace checks in. What's up? What's up, Jeremy?
Thanks for checking in.
Yeah, glad to have you, man. Having a good old time here. And probably the bigger news for recruits, at least Clemson-wise, Trevante Citizen, a 4-star running back, number 143, committed to LSU. So how's that affect Clemson? ETN, That's another running back. We've had some to Alabama. We had 16 or 17 to Georgia, a couple to Florida. Now this guy goes to LSU, so you're starting to wonder. The dominoes are falling, and ETN hasn't committed yet, and Clemson still got a spot open, and he got to offer out to, as John Chansey calls him, ETN too. I think
he calls him E2N, and I was going to cite my source here. This is a big thing for Clemson, I think, in their pursuit of Travis. Right? No, Trevor Etienne. I'm going to mess that up forever. I have to who is the quarterback at Clemson? That's right, it's Trevor. Trevor Etienne. And JP has told us from the start, I think the last 2 times he's been on with us, he said the longer this goes, the better it will shake out for Clemson. I'm hitching my wagon to Trevor Etienne. I'm liking him more and more every time I see him, every time I see some more film of him. He's a different back, Clemson fans, than his brother. He is further along, as JP has said, than his brother at this stage in the game. But he's still going to be good, and he's going to grow a little bit. This reminds me of James Davis and James Davis's brother, who is now in the pros, who went to South Carolina. James Davis was a little bigger. He was a strong back, but his brother Mike was just a bruiser and kind of lower to the ground. And every time I watch Trevor and Travis Etienne, they're different, and it reminds me of that James Davis, Mike Davis brotherhood. They're 2 different backs, but they both can be extremely effective in college.
Yeah, Mike Davis, and he was really good at South Carolina, and he had a better NFL career than James had for a variety of reasons. Now, something Jeremy Grace just said reminded me.
Love it.
Just got the first article published with Sports Illustrated, allclemson.com.
That's awesome.
Congratulations, Jeremy. Appreciate you joining in and joining us to have some discussion. Maybe we need to have you on. Let us know in the comments what you wrote about, and we'll bring it up.
Yeah.
Our friend of the show, JP Priester, writes at allclemson.com. Really, really good stuff. We enjoy, and he's great to talk to and a really good guy. Stopped cutting his grass to come on and talk to us last week. So hopped off the tractor to talk to Casey Abarty on Sluggo. So we appreciate having you. And
we're big fans of allclemson.com.
John Chansey is here to correct me, and you knew it, and I think Nelson knew it also. E2N is what he calls Mr. ETN. That's really going to be, and I'm going to say it because the veterans are going to be hungry in November. It's going to be interesting to see how that recruitment falls. I think that's $32 or $33 for the vets now. How that recruitment ends up and where he ends up, whether it's Clemson or not. Is he going to go to Georgia and be behind 4 or 5 studs? There's a pile of running backs in the Clemson room too. It's not like he's coming to a bare cupboard if he went to Clemson. So I'm intrigued for sure. Let me get some.
How about before we go to the next step on our little breakdown, one thing for Clemson fans out there, this weekend's a big weekend. I can't believe it's already here. We've been talking about it for months. JP's been on here talking about it, but the All-In Cookout is this weekend, and it falls in line with ETN as well because he apparently will be there in-house. So this is a huge recruiting weekend for Clemson. There's not as many guys, I don't believe, coming as maybe usually. I know that's a lot of the Clemson writers, a lot of the Clemson beat writers are saying pump your brakes a little bit. This is more about quality over quantity this year, and don't necessarily expect a commitment this weekend as has been in the past. And you usually get a 23 commitment around this time too, or the next cycle commitment around this time too, but I'm not sure how Clemson's playing this right now. Everything seems to be a little slower than normal, but it is the All-In Cookout this weekend. ETN will be on campus and it's a wait and see with Travis Shaw and some others.
Yeah, those IMG guys, and we talked about this last week, can't make the cookout because they're reported back to school, and so numbers are a little lighter there. Of course, there are already 2 or 3 have already committed.
3 IMG guys to Clemson.
Yeah. So those numbers are going to be a little lighter than they would normally be. You had some case.
No, I was just going to say Jeremy Grace put in the chat here that he wrote about the defensive line must live up to the hype. There is a lot of hype for the defensive line, so definitely check out And even send us a message, Jeremy. We'll link it on all our social medias too to make sure you get some clicks and some eyes, because this defensive line is starting to get. I'm starting to hear murmurs about the Power Rangers, the new Power Rangers, Power Rangers 2.0, and so I look forward to reading your article.
Absolutely. Tag us on social media on Twitter, and we'll, all 16 of my followers will be sure to.
And I have 94 burners, so we'll make it work.
You see a lot of burners. Nelson says $1. Absolutely, right. Nelson. I told you today that the veterans aren't going to be able to eat very well off of $32. So I need to find a new phrase, a new something to.
We'll figure it out this year.
Collect some money. And there's Jeremy.
We'll cut and paste that thing.
Yeah, either cut and paste or add podcast Sluggo on Twitter. And Casey is at Casey from Sluggo.
Just from Sluggo.
From Sluggo.
Yep.
At from Sluggo, and I don't even know your Twitter. And we'll retweet it on social and get some folks to on over there. And I can also put it on Seldom Used Reserve on the Facebook. Got 20K people over there, so that's where my people reside. Apparently, Jeremy, great to have you. Thanks for chiming in and participating. Make great tater salad. Can I get him back to the good? I don't think Dabo needs any cyclists, Nelson. I'm pretty sure that he doesn't need.
I don't know.
Cyclists.
I see Nelson on video at Clemson.edu.
Well, that's right. He's a big dog over there.
Yes.
They money bags over there at Clemson. Hey, Casey, Bubba Chandler, in case you didn't know, he decided $3 million was better than living at Clemson. And you love Clemson. I love Clemson. 98% of the people who watch this show and follow us love Clemson. There's not many things I would choose over Clemson, but $3 million and a lifetime security opportunity is one of the things that I would have chosen over Clemson. And, I put this into context in an article on seldomusereserve.com. He'd have to work 20 years at $150,000 a year to make $3 million. So when you put it in that way, how could he turn it down? And he couldn't.
No, you can't. And I think there was more eyes on this situation this year because of the attrition at the quarterback position. Quite honestly, from this perspective and this eyes only, I didn't see him play a single snap I didn't watch a single minute of his film. I'm telling on myself, but I didn't. But you wanted him to come and stay at Clemson because he was a quarterback. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, ooh, we could use a difference maker on the mound for baseball as well, because I'm an admitted huge Clemson baseball fan. But yeah, this was a no-brainer. I mean, I'm sorry, Clemson folks. And there was Joe Mack, also highly rated recruit. Wasn't on campus yet, went in the first round. So why have you not heard about Joe Mack? Because he's not a dual sport athlete. He's another kid that was committed to Clemson. That happens every year. Every year Clemson loses somebody in their baseball recruiting to the draft. It just happens, at least one. So this, in my mind, I'm trying to make it like, yes, it makes sense. But we were just all so high and heavy on him because he had the football. And he was on campus already. He was living already there.
But not even the football. It's the quarterback, right? If he was a tight end or something, nobody would have cared, really. If he was
DJ Reader did it for a season, right? I mean, we've seen it before.
That's a hilarious thing. I told Parker that. I said, "Do you know he pitched in a game for Clemson?" And Parker looked at me like, "Are you nuts?"
When you see him on the football field, you're like, "Really? That guy, 295 on the bump?"
This was when he was with the Texans, so he was probably like 335, because he'd put on that NFL defensive lineman weight. So yeah, he was like 335. So it was crazy. But I'm reminded of your Clemson always loses somebody to the draft when I see Zach Greinke, right? Wasn't he a Clemson commit and got drafted? And
Jeff Francoeur was a big one.
Jeff Francoeur, yeah. There's 1,000 of those guys. So just the way it goes, you got to keep recruiting them, though. You got to stay with it. John Chansey says he had a great mullet going too. Yeah, I'm not. I am from South Carolina, but I'm not much for the mullets.
No,
Not a big mullet dude. Okay, Casey, media days. And, Nelson and I went back around on this on the old text machine too about Dabo, and I went off on it. And I don't have the energy to go off on it tonight, but it is just ridiculous. It is just crazy. They asked the guy a question. It's not like he's up there saying, hey, come listen to me. I want to talk about this. They're asking him questions. He's answering honestly. And here I am getting worked up. And he's answering honestly, and he's given the same answer that 1,000 other coaches are giving, Mac Brown included. Justin Fuente, I think I read too, had the same or a similar answer, and he's getting bashed for it. And then on top of that, about his quote being taken out of context, and it's like I told you in Nelson, the thing about the NIL is just stupid. His sons have NIL agreements. His quarterback has one of the biggest there is. Well,
just signed with Bojangles today.
Yeah, well, that's two he's got, or maybe that's part of the other one. But the point is, his players have NIL agreements. His players, including his sons, have NIL agreements. He gets crap about that because people can't read, because reading is not fundamental in America anymore. People can't read. As he said, they see what they want to see. But today or this week, it's about the expanded playoff. And I have not seen one tweet about what Mac Brown said or one tweet about what Justin Fuente said. And maybe it's because they're not as good as Clemson is. But people love to hate Dabo. Have you ever seen a bigger switch? Remember when they first started winning? They beat Auburn. And, and the bring your own guts thing, they couldn't get enough of the guy. And now they've had enough of him and they don't want anything to do with him. No matter what he says, he can't win.
Yeah, no. And there's no question. I have a really good friend who was a beat writer in the MLB and a communications major at Clemson and master's at Northwestern. Like he's a journalist by trade and just a really smart guy. His name's Ryan Lawrence. And Ryan tells me every time that Dabo says something that he needs a PR guy, needs somebody to just have canned answers, but that's just not who he is. And in the past, he has said some dumb stuff. There's no question about it. And a lot of sometimes we couldn't back up our guy, right? But he's our guy. And now that everything that he says is fully scrutinized, people in this country in the sports world love to knock you down. I mean, heck, you got a really good guy in the NBA giving all his money to charity and starting schools, and they hate him. I won't mention names, but now you got Dabo who's winning and doing all-in foundation and putting kids into the pros and graduating 99% of his players. And for all intents and purposes, he's creating good young men. He started the paw journey. Like he's got all of this stuff in place for his players. The players love him. Family loves it. The families love him. But Joe Dirt on Twitter says he's a dirtbag because they can't read. So I get a little worked up about it too, and it's that white knight mentality, man, but where I got to get on my horse to back my guy where he doesn't need it. And I'm not sure he really cares, to be honest with you. But it's starting to get very old that everything that he's saying is scrutinized to the point where people are just cutting it down. And it's one of those things I heard on the radio today. People will read exactly what they want to read and then just beat it. Someone can put a pretty picture on Twitter or any social media with completely false stuff. One of my favorite things is don't believe everything you read or everything you read on the internet is true. Signed Abraham Lincoln. Yeah, stuff like that. It's just people will take that, believe it because they won't do any research or thinking on their own. And it's the same idea with Dabo, with the NIL, with this situation too. He was asked a question, as one of my favorite columnists, David Hale from ESPN, put out. He was literally just asked the question, and there's zero problem with it. Mac Brown, Justin Fuente, as you said, talked about the same exact thing. The point of the story is that there isn't 12 teams good enough. That was taken down and said, oh, well, you guys just don't want to compete. That's not the point. That's not you're scared or you lost to the number 11 seed. Like there's just too much that's broken down and people kind of try to dissect it. And if you knew Dabo and followed him regularly, he just says what he says and he believes it. And there's no ill will behind it. He wasn't trying to make the news yesterday. He was asked about what he thought about the 12-team playoff. He said, I don't think there's 12 teams good enough. if you look at it, I'm almost done, Marty. I'm sorry. If you look at it, they're not 12 teams good enough. So how was he even wrong? Like, that's my thing. He was right in my mind. Mac Brown was right. Justin Fuente was right. They're right. So anyway, I'm done. I need a break.
So much for our short show tonight. No, actually, Casey, and I don't say this often, but you had about 15 good points in there. I mean, points that, yes. Points
Mom, did you hear that,
Mom? Really, really good points in there, and points I was going to make. But so I don't need to now. So we did cut the show down. But it just amazes me that if you think about it, 10 years ago, if you'd have looked at a program and say, hey, we have this program that graduates, like you said, almost 100% of their players, they rarely get in trouble. They do. I put on Twitter, they do get in trouble occasionally, but rarely, and the thing I put on Twitter, there was another quote yesterday that Dabo had that nobody wanted to talk about, saying how much he loved DK, Darion Kendrick, wanted him to be successful at Georgia, wanted him to, hopefully his future is bright and all his dreams come true, and I love him, and, on and on and on, and nobody cared. Nobody cared. True. But if he said, well, Darion, I think it'd been better if he'd stayed at Clemson, oh, hell, we're broke. But nobody cares when he says anything nice. But the thing is, as you said, again, another great point, they're right. They're right. And the guys I see on Twitter who are all up in arms on this topic against Dabo are MAC teams, fans of MAC teams that think somehow Dabo is saying they're not as good as Clemson or Georgia or Alabama. And guess what? They're not. It's the guys who it's almost like the short man complex, right? They got to prove that they belong. And you're not going to tell them they don't belong when they get beat 62-4. They don't care. 62-4, 62-6. They don't care. They are in the playoffs. They want us so bad to say we are a playoff team. Dang it, Bowling Green made the college football playoff. I don't care if every team was invited. Bowling Green's in the playoff this year. There's 128 teams in the playoff, but we made it.
I mean, look at basketball. Basketball, you get 68 teams. And a lot of times some of these coaches that or some of these colleges and universities that aren't going to win, these coaches save their jobs by making the tournament. I mean, heck, closer to home, you think Clemson probably saved Brad Brownell, saved his job by making the tournament. So it kind of crosses over into college football. If you're one of the 12 teams, a Bowling Green, a Kent State, a Buffalo, and they make the tournament, well, that could save a guy's job. And yes, they're going to go get blown out 147-0.
They are not going to be happy until they turn college football playoff into what bowls turn into, right? First, you were good if you made a bowl, and then they started getting more, and then it was the Potato Bowl and the Dookie Bowl and the Duke's Mayonnaise Bowl, and soon you had, we had South Carolina invited to a bowl last year, 2-8, right? And that's what they're going to do. They're going to do it, and they're going to do it. I wrote about this too on SouthernNewsReserve.com. We're Americans. We can't get enough. If we like something, we don't say, that's good, and I really enjoy that, and I don't want any more of it because I don't want to get tired of it. We say, give it all. Give me the whole damn bucket of ice cream, and I'm going to eat it until I throw up and weigh 422 pounds and die of a heart attack. That's what Americans do, and that's what they're doing with football and college football playoff.
Hell yeah.
America. What the detractors of Dabo are missing is that the players weren't in favor of playing more games. Absolutely, Nelson. That was one of the points Casey made. He talked to the players. The players were against it. Nobody's been asking what the players think about an expanded playoff. Great point, Nelson. That's why That's why this show's in your honor, buddy. That was another thing that Dabo did point out, that the players didn't even want. They don't want to play more games. Now, their deals are better now. They may want to play more games, but back in the old day, they're playing more games, getting beat up just for the same old, same trophy.
Well, actually, unfortunately, this thing in the NIL is probably not. I haven't looked too deep into it, but it's probably not based on how many games they're playing. Like some of these contracts in other sports, it's like if you play all if you play 150 games in baseball, your bonus is gonna come through. I don't think that's probably the case in the NIL.
Yeah, I was just thinking more exposure, more exposure. Houston Burnett, friend of the show. We got to have you on again, Houston. I like my ice cream in the same bucket as my chicken. Wow, man.
Hey, that's awesome.
And John Chansey, the point about number of games might have the most impact if the right players and teams speak up. It could get enough momentum that it actually impacts their decisions. I actually heard somebody the other day on a podcast, and I don't remember who it was, say that he thinks when you have all these teams and all these games, more games in the playoff, that players will start opting out of playoff games, right, to protect themselves from injury for an NFL career. So
wow, that's something to think about.
Yeah. And Nelson says Houston is a sick man. Well, you're just figuring that out, huh, Nelson? Man, we got everybody in the house tonight. We don't have JP Priester, but we got Houston and Nelson and John Chansey. Good deal, guys. I guess you guys know we're going away. We're not going to be here next week.
Getting their fill.
Yeah, they're getting their fill tonight.
What am I going to do next Wednesday, Marty?
Call up your wife and talk to her.
Oh, okay.
I don't know you. I don't know. I'm going to the game on Tuesday night, so Wednesday night I'll probably sit in front of the TV. It will be strange, right? Because
weird,
we had this crazy day, as I said, and then Parker's wanting what did he want? He wanted pizza rolls tonight, and my wife's like, "Can you go get them?" And I was like, "No, I got Casey tonight. Casey." And it's part of the routine. You're like part of the family, Casey. Only on Wednesdays, though.
The second kid you didn't want.
Only on Wednesdays. I'd have to get 2 boxes of pizza rolls if you were.
You're darn tootin'.
Hey, over on SeldomNewsReserve.com, John Chansey, man, thank you so much, John, for the time you put into your articles. He wrote on the surprise teams of 2021, both good and bad. Nelson didn't agree with Mr. Chansey today, and that's what it's all about, a discussion and talk about it and figure out who's right and who's wrong and what's going on. But I appreciate John doing that. And I wrote an article on not all 4 stars are the same. It just kind of struck me as I was sitting there Saturday, we're scrolling through and we're watching 2 top 50 guys, almost 6 top 60 guys. I think Sab was 60. 2 top 60 guys commit to Clemson, and this Iowa State grabs a 4-star from Florida. This is monumental. The guy was ranked number 329, right? Not cracking on him. I wished I was the 329th ranked anything besides in my class of 329. Anything in high school, it's a great honor for that kid. But don't try and tell me this, is a top end talent and it's going to earth-shattering to Iowa State. Maybe their entry into Florida is a little earth-shattering. Great. But it's not on the same level as the 4 stars that Clemson got. And, you don't hear Alabama and Ohio State fans saying this stuff. Again, it's the fans of the teams who are more wannabe-ish than the ones at the top, clamoring about 329th ranked player. But anyway, I wrote about that. John Chansey has a great article coming up, Casey, about it involves his ultimate fantasy road trip for college football. It's a 3-parter, and it involves breweries and all the stuff. He got a response. I think it was Andy Staples responded to him and recommended one in Florida. I think he's got some from you, right? And,
he did.
Yeah, so that's coming up. I told him I hadn't forgot about it, but I wanted to save it for August or so, when we have more eyes on the website as we're building up there. But so that's what's coming up on SeldomNewsReserve.com.
I'm in a serious case of writer's block because, as you know, I'm writing some season previews for some teams for an article that's going to go online. And John Chansey is so impressive with the stuff that he comes up with. I mean, it's very interesting. Your articles are good too, but John Chansey, he's all over the place in a great way, and so I look forward to all of them. So,
I can't write like that. I can write about sports and numbers and stuff, and things. What I write about just comes out of my head, and I can't write like John Chansey writes. There's no way in the world.
It's just so creative. It's really well done. It's really well
I
done.
could not do it. And what is Houston saying now? Let me get over here.
Shots fired.
My life is a lie. Gamecock Twitter. Yeah, I didn't mention that word on there, Houston, but they were one of the teams I was poking at. The other one was our friend that earlier in the show, Michael Palkovic. He's talking about Notre Dame is number 2, I think number 3 now in recruiting. And they got all these guys. I said, you've got a lot of good top-end talent there, Palk, but look at the guys you've given scholarships to guys out 350 range. I would be horrified unless their name was Swinney, Venables, Herb Street, or one of those types. If we offered the 450 of the right guy and he's going to be our safety or whatever, I'd be horrified right now. And that says a lot about me in the state of Clemson recruiting. As I mentioned, no show next week unless Casey and I get lonely and decide to do it. I'm going to be in Florida.
No,
trying to. Yeah, we need a break before August kicks in. And I'm going to be in Florida trying to figure out something to do. Parker and I are going to the Yankees and Rays on Tuesday night. That will be our 3rd MLB stadium this year. That's our father-son thing to do. We've had a grand old time doing it. So we will not be here next week. We'll be back the week after, and that'll be August, Casey.
That's awesome.
And when it comes after August, September comes after August. That's what comes after August, and football comes in September. Now, you took the chop and beef off last week. You got both shows this week, and then next week you just have the chop and beef, I assume.
Yes, sir.
I meant to ask you this a couple of weeks ago. You told a story on there about your move. I'm telling you about getting ready for vacation is really, really stressful. But your move, was it last episode or episode before? I don't remember, but it was hilarious, and it was hilarious because it wasn't me.
Yeah. The abbreviated version, real quick. I know we're running later than we thought, but yeah. So my family's moving to South Carolina, and so we actually moved ourselves. Which here's what's that public service announcement for anybody that's thinking about moving themselves? Don't ever do it, okay? Because it's just hilarity ensues between a trailer coming off the back of a 20-foot Penske truck or U-Haul truck, whatever we had, to breaking down 3 miles from your destination because the power steering and power hose fell off. So you have no brakes and you're driving this massive thing stock full with all of your personal belongings. So it was a funny story. Chop and Beef is back tomorrow night. We do have some good topics that are completely different than this show's topics. And we're going to have a good night, I think. The boys are ready. We're going to have the 2 other guys that are with me, JJ and Locks. And we're going to have a good show. So we appreciate the time that you give us here.
Absolutely. It's funny as hell. And I'll be traveling tomorrow night. Again, it's funny because it doesn't involve me. I'll be traveling tomorrow, Casey, but I will have this laptop set up and I'll be able to download your audio for you.
Thank you.
Practically, sure. And before we say goodnight, I want to again thank Nelson Wilhite. Generous contribution, help with the Facebook group. He's messaging me saying, "Hey, look at there. These guys are posting this. Get rid of it." Nelson's on top of it. We appreciate you, Nelson, so much. So
he said you're embarrassing him.
I didn't even see that one. All right, Casey, tell the folks goodbye and we'll get out of here and we'll give them a week off from this craziness.
Well, I apologize, Nelson, but you're getting it one more time. Thanks to everyone in the Facebook group, especially Nelson Wilhite, for all his help and support. Everyone on Seldom News Reserve, Sluggo Podcast, each and every one of you who listens, likes, shares, and participates. Thanks for all the comments tonight. We truly, really do appreciate it. We love the interaction. We love taking your questions. We love giving you our opinions, right, wrong, and different. But on behalf of Marty, Seldom News Reserve, Coleman, I am Casey the Beef Creegans. Thanks so much for joining us on Sluggo. We'll see you in 2 weeks.
2 weeks on Sluggo. Get your Spurtles. We're going to have a Spurtle contest.
I think
we're doing this 2 thing forever.